how I'd automate a real estate company in 11 steps in 2026, right? So a lot has changed really with automation. A lot of stuff has come really far, and I've gone ahead and aggregated a bunch of automations I've done with a bunch of real estate companies. So for context, I run a sort of agency here that does these automations. It's called megabarn.co. I'll show you a bit later, but worked with a bunch of agencies adjacent to real estate, which is sort of home buying, letting, even rent to rent. I've gone ahead and done these sort of foreclosure home buying guys. So a bunch of experience, and these are sort of a list of all of the sort of automations I've built for them. And if I was going to build a real estate agency or a company, I'll definitely introduce any of these, right? So if you want to fully automate your business, here's the sort of 11 steps you need, right? So for real estate, all right, first of all, you're gonna need to have a really good CRM, right? So this is sort of the beating heart of your business. This is the sort of central hub, right? This is a lot of people nowadays, they just resort to like really small ones like Airtable, even through email, right? But you're gonna need to at any level, you're gonna need to invest in a good CRM, because once you start filling in all of this lead information, you can benefit really from really high leverage by using these sort of no-code automations, right? So the ones I've seen over my time is definitely Podio, ClickUp, and Salesforce, right? These are the three most common ones I've seen used in real estate. So if you haven't got one, you choose one of these three. If you have the funds for it, I definitely recommend Salesforce, right? But for example, every time a new booking is created, you can create a record and attach the time it's made, right? So you have this nice sort of organized, huge like hub for all this information. And then from there, you can use no-code platforms like Make.com to generate property info by making an API call to Zillow, right? I'll go on more about that later. And then you can just repopulate, or it's called enrichment. You can enrich the whole property on your CRM in that 1 second. And this task will probably take a realtor around 30 minutes to do, right? You can even do invoices by using Xero. Sounds similar, but it's Xero. Xero is a sort of accounting software. You do address info, you can even do everything automatically, right? So you're gonna need this to start off with, a nice CRM that has all your information. Most people have this, but a lot of nowadays a lot of people have it because of automations, right? So if you don't have this, this is you got to go ahead and get it, right? But so yeah, CRM that's automation friendly is definitely a go. So by automation friendly, I mean has API endpoints they can call, so you can just connect it to softwares like Make.com, right? So next up, we have appointment scheduling. Now, this is really good, right? So a lot of time with real estate, you're asking a bunch of questions on the phone, just qualifying, right? You're asking all of these sort of questions about the how many rooms you have, what's the state of the house, scale of 1 to 10, just like sales questions and just qualifying questions, right? And then when they give you the green light, yeah, let's go ahead and set up a meeting or follow-up calls, right? You're gonna have to spend another long 20 minutes going through when are you free? I'm free here. Or what time are you free? I'm not free then, all of that. A lot of room for error here, right? These guys can just not have free time and stuff. So these sort of softwares are excellent, right? So we have these sort of Calendly, we have cal.com. It's just sort of calendar APIs that give the lead the opportunity to look at your calendar where your free time is and just book an appointment there and answer questions, right? So they can qualify themselves, right? So I'm going to show you what I have. I use this in my business. I'll show you exactly how easy it is, right? So if you go to my website and this is what it looks like. So if we go to Let's Chat, someone can literally go ahead and here, click a time, 10 a.m. Yeah, and just fill in everything, right? They can fill in all the information, and then your staff will eventually they'll get a notification from this, and they'll see that all the questions are answered. You can see they're qualified or not, and you can enter a call with full information, right? And it just saves a lot of time on admin, and you can just keep on going churning through all of these leads, and it's really big time save, right? On the same sort of branch as this, there is another sort of connected automation which I'd highly recommend. It's definitely reminders for customers for their meetings or calls or viewings, which however you're using your appointment scheduling, right? So the power of reminders is so underrated, right? So no shows hurt real estate much more than any other industry. Like think about how high your ticket is compared to other industries, like car repairs and things. You're gonna have when you lose a lead, right? It hurts, right? So let's just say I got an example here. Let's say you're selling a foreclosure with a short window, right? 2 weeks. And no show doesn't mean you have to reschedule. Just like it gets closer to finishing, and they might just give up, right? So these reminders for meetings really cuts it in half. It literally it gives them opportunity to either reschedule or reminds them that the meeting's happening, right? It's really simple automation. I'll show you what I've gone ahead and built it. I've got permission to show you guys like an automation. It's really simple. I'll show you. Simply put, when a Calendly sort of event is made, it goes ahead and sends a text. That's it. Tell them, you have a meeting here. It reminds them. And all of these automations are really good, especially on the staff side. That we won't even talk about it, where go ahead and send your staff a text when an invite is made if you have this elsewhere, right? So it's really, really versatile, really simple automation, as you can see. It integrates with Twilio, which is sort of where you buy numbers outside, right? So reminders of meetings is very high leverage and helps a lot, right? It works hand in hand with this. You can see all of these sort of work together. Like you set a meeting here, you can automatically send these guys a calendly link, and then you can have all of these, right? Automated lead gen. Now, how in the world can we automate lead gen in such a human-based industry? You literally call up guys and talk to them about the properties, right? Like, how can no one wants to talk to a robot, really, right? If they don't have to, right? But it sort of depends, right? So here's what I've got for you. Off hours AI receptions, right? So having an AI answer the call in after hours is better than no one, right? So you shut at 8 p.m., right? And then it's just like some people might call up, maybe just some people might call up and then just asking questions, but then they're gonna go to your automated messages. Oh, we're open out like this, no one's here, and this is lead loss. Like right now, you can now easily set up an off hours AI receptionist that takes these calls, right? And just simply answers the phone, jotting down information, answering qualification questions. You have yourself has access to fresh leads in the morning, right? Without having to do nothing for them, right? So someone calls up, instead of just getting hung up on, they say, "Oh, we're out of office right now, but we'll take your message and answer a few questions, and a guy will come reach out to you in the morning." And then guess what? You go into work tomorrow, your staff has a fresh sort of lead right there without doing absolutely nothing. So this is really, really good, right? You can really get real complex with this. You don't have to like do qualification questions. Like for example, I'll show you one I built for an enterprise customer. All right, so this looks really complicated, like, but it was an enterprise build, so of course you know how the qualification question goes, these sort of things, right? But let me show you this. So this sort of AI receptionist is really smart as it's connected to Zillow, so that's where your house prices are, housing list, US house listings, everything, right? So the whole point of this thing is, you got qualification questions, what kind of house, what house specs, condition and stuff. We've got this huge decision tree here, and it's based off this API call. So at one point in this call, a little bit further down, where we have a bit more trust with the caller, we're gonna go ahead and ask them, "Oh, how much do you think your house is worth?" Right? And they'll give us a number, and then we're going to compare it to their market price. So we're going to sort of leverage arbitrage here, right? So they don't know, most people don't really know their market price of the customer or for their house, because not many people know this sort of information, right? So we're going to go ahead and compare the actual house price, that market house price, to the house price they say, and then we go ahead and do a little bit of formula with math and see. I believe this company has it as, if it's 20% over, if the market price is 20% over their estimate, we go ahead and pass them off to a home buying specialist. But in this case, it would set the appointment up because it's after hours, right? So you can see how deep it goes, right? So it's really, really important that you decide what's best for your company, right? But I'll be frank with you, I sell these AI agents. I know people that really want to talk to a robot, so we use these for either no leverage or high leverage, right? So no one's picking up the call, or we got at least getting filtered off, right? So it's a sort of two paths you can take, and I think having this at least as the backup is very essential, right? Plus, you can always connect it to your knowledge base to a company so you can answer questions, so that's all fine. All right, so we figured out how we can actually automate a little bit of lead gen, not strong amount of lead gen, but lead gen automated anyways, right? So what about when you finish off, like you sold the house, you've renovated the house, you checked the condition of the house, you've gone ahead and given an evaluation of the house. How am I going to bill my customers? Do I need to go into my CRM, manually click them, and be like, "Yep, I'm gonna go ahead and write this sort of invoice"? No. Stripe is amazing because it's super automatable. We need automation-friendly softwares that we can connect to our CRM, and use Make.com to automate it, right? So take a look at Stripe right here. So this software is so automation friendly. You can hook up to your aforementioned CRM software, and on completion, you can go ahead and auto invoice your lead. Super high leverage. You're just switching the lead status to like maybe complete, and it automatically looks at the information and your staff notes and creates an invoice on Stripe and sends it off, right? And it's just super high leverage for so little effort, right? So you can see all this like sort of theme going on here. It's low effort, high sort of leverage automations, sort of like Legos that you're building on top of each other. All of these small automations build together to make some super strong stack, right? That's how you can automate invoicing and billing really quickly. Now let's talk about the follow-up specialist, right? So it sort of relates to the automated lead gen, but sometimes you have leads you have leads that aren't a good fit, and you set them as follow-up later or like cold sometimes. And that's that, right? It's like leave them there. Maybe you follow up later with a call, but nothing really happens, right? But all of those take a lot of effort. So one of the highest leverage capabilities you can have in this space is the ability to turn cold leads or leads with a negative status, like follow up to warm, right? How can I even automate this? This sounds weird, right? So let me show you something. If your staff collects information like emails for each lead, Now, that specifically mean emails, right? You can run an ultra personalized. Remember, we have a lot of information about each lead, right? Like for the company that I work with, real estate, there's so much you collect on the call for leads. You got so much information, and you can all use that to use it in LLM or write it yourself. A personalized message. Now, why do we need a personalized message? Because an ultra personalized email campaign converts like crazy. Now, let me show you something over here, right? Here's one that I've run for an enterprise client, right? So let's take a look at this. This is sort of September. I'm going to head at 4,300 leads are sort of cold. We might as well just put it through an email campaign. Nothing's happening with this lead. These 9 positive opportunities that converted. I believe at the end we got 5 that sort of, you know how we set our meetings with these guys and we got 5 that actually showed and converted, right? So that's a lot for small automation for this high ticket business that we're in, right? So just having these sort of systems in place just makes you good money, right? Because this thing will run again in October, right? And on the same lead and even more leads. So it just works in hand, right? So email automation, you might hear as cold email automation, right? It's sort of really deep and there's a lot of parts to it. You might think all these get sent out once. It's a trickle effect. The emails are super warmed up. It's a lot of technicality, but as you can see, it works, right? So it's sort of using your leads that aren't being touched anymore. That's why it's called a follow-up specialist. It's very, 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 very high leverage, right? We're going down, we're getting a bit more higher leverage and more hard, right? But let's talk about automated referral process. I think I've made a video on this one, right? But let's talk about automated referral processes, all right? So here's another automation we can add to our CRM. Once a job is set to complete, go ahead and email your lead thanking them and offering them a 10% referral return if they know anyone else who needs your service. Very, very related to automated lead gen, because guess what, you're automatically sending them an email, right, through an automation of your CRM to say thank you very much. If you know anyone else, we'll give you this, right? So just having this automation set, we'll have a few percentage of your completed leads sending you some leads, right? So that's sort of lead gen for just a small amount of process, right? And yeah, you get to pay them a 10% referral bonus, yeah, but would that be offset by the marginal cost incurred to get this lead? All you're asking is these guys to send us a lead. We don't really have that much of a higher cost, so it's not even that deep, I think, right? I have this set up in a few companies, really popular in rent and letting. So yeah, this technically falls under automated outreach, but it's a sort of different thing where your leads you're getting is like taking candy from baby, right? These guys are giving you leads because they expect a 10% referral, which is fine. So we're going down here and we get a bunch of automated lead gen that you'd think is impossible in a business like this, but it's not. It's not. It works. As you can see, it works, right? But anyways, automated upsells. So it's really depends on what business you're in, right? So if you're doing a valuation on a property, normally you would upsell them like, we can help you sell it, or we can help you do this, we can help you do that. Alex and Mozzie, you've already booked a lot of examples around that, right? But we can just automate this. On paper, it seems sort of low leverage. Like, why would you just replace sort of one sentence, one ask? But that's not the point. You're doing it after the sentence, right? So Alex Amodi always talks about a lead magnet. So you're giving away something free, something it's really hard to say no to in an email, and it really helps convert them, right? So after you send this sort of request out, we can help you also sell. No thanks. We can then send them an email afterwards and be like, we can go ahead and help you. We have an inside guide that can help guaranteed high rankings on sort of listing websites, right? So I'm not just anything like that, but automatic upsells always help. It sort of falls under automated lead gen as well. But I can't stress the importance of following up, right? It's very important to follow up on these leads because a lot of them convert again if they're initially warm, especially if they bought from you before. You're gonna have to keep on pressing, right? That's the sort of sales strategy. If you keep on pressing after they bought for you, not too much, but if you press a little bit on something they need, right, you have a really good chance of like selling them something else, right? So even if you say no, they know you're an option and they'll have it in the back of their head, right? So we've got the last 3 here. Got some crazy stuff going on. The last one's crazy. I'm not saying at the beginning of this list because people think it's video retention scheme. I'm not doing that. Reporting, accounting, and invoicing, right? So we touched on this a bit up here, but now we're going to talk about Xero. So this sort of depends on how big you are, but depending on the size, you'll need an accounting software. Like I back Xero a lot. I use this for real estate companies. I use it for an enterprise recruitment company. Xero is just great, right? Because it's automation friendly and it's real simple to use, right? So there's no real limit to the automation you can use with Xero. It's very automation friendly, and just think that if you set a lead to like paid or like finished, set up an automated invoice in Xero, fill out all the tax information, all the information about where they are, the amount, the sort of tax code, the branding theme, and everything all filled out. on zero without having to set staff member to do so, and can even automatically send it out. But what I'd recommend is just set it to draft and send it to your sort of finance team, which is why I got set up on all my zero automations. Very important automation here for bigger companies. Saved a bunch of time. I would show you how it looks, but I can't because that's sort of protected, right? But the automations are huge. These are hard to build, but they're really high leverage, right? And this is how you would build it with zero. You would just set a trigger from your CRM, send it to zero, and then do all the stuff in between, or how you want to set it up. Set up different branch or different tax codes, or you can set a sort of module to play around formulas to set up there instead of wasting time building different branches. All the stuff you can do. Let me know if you want a video on this, but this will take time to make, but it's really high leverage. And we come on to the second to last one, the penultimate one, right? So automatic enrichment of properties. This is a no-brainer. So you go down and we're getting some crazy stuff here. So I won't lie to you, having to manually put property information into your CRM, it's not modern at all. No one does this. So what I've done for real estate companies is use the Zillow API. Now, we use Zillow API to automatically get all the information on the properties. It comes with the number of bedrooms, pricing history, everything you can literally think of, right? And we go ahead and fill out the CRM with that information, right? So we have a trigger in the automation to start this where it would go ahead and get all the information and fill out, which is great. But I recommend not using the Zillow API as such, but go into Rapid API, which is a website for APIs to get cheaply. You can go ahead and get Zillow on here for like a quarter of the price and much more tokens. It's just the best, right? Do not buy expensive APIs where you can get here for like a quarter of the price, right? Trust me. So in a nutshell, you can go ahead and auto populate property info with Zillow API. So that's the simple automation, but it's extremely high leverage. That's sort of one of the things that take the most time for these property companies for CRM. You're filling out information that you just so low value, just doing the same thing like a robot, just typing in numbers. You're not a robot, you're a property guy. You just talk about properties, right? You're not writing numbers. You don't want to be writing numbers in like boxes, man. So this is sort of a very popular automation I get to build, right? So it's auto-enrichment of properties. All right, lastly, the big boy, the monthly report agentic workflow. We're going to end it with a big one, especially if you stay to the end. Thank you. So as you may know, the meta for automations in 2026 is changing. It's now agentic workflow. So, building these Python-based sort of work stacks with Claude code, right? So you might not know, but that is it. So you can now build really complex automations outside of Make. So a project I am even building now is training an agent on your post-sales process, right? So what do you do after a lead is set to warm or even after you sell to them, right? So you get there's a lot of stuff involved in that. So we're gonna have to feed it a month's worth of data from your CRM, all right? So yeah, understand. So it's a monthly. This is a monthly report, right? So you feed it a month's data of your CRM. There's a lot of API endpoints that can help you do that, like start date and end date. So it's not that complicated, right? You'd feed it that information and then allow the AI to analyze your KPIs, right? And even calculate its own KPIs because it will, right? And then give you a detailed report into who is doing what they're supposed to and where improvements can be made. You take a look at your staff, take a look at the process, where is leaks happening in the sales funnel most, what's happened, what's compared to last month. Anyone that's sort of CTO, CEO sort of position needs to have one of these because it's really important and really helpful, right? And I don't even need to say much more than this is the highest automation there is on this list, right? Just to have this sort of literacy where a clear roadmap, which is rare in a business world, where you can improve and what to do better, right? So that's sort of the list of automations. I've explained them in decent detail. If you want me to build any of these in particular, let me know. And I have this in the link in the description for you guys. So yeah.